have some tips for the V3i for the new user. I'd also like to say, if anybody else wants to contribute and add some more tips from some experiences that they've had with the unit, that'd be great to post some of those in the comments. I know a lot of people that have gotten the V3i are a little bit confused by it sometimes. I think it's really a pretty simple machine to operate once you get used to it. And, let me show you some stuff on here really fast. Alright, I think one of the first things you'd want to do as a new user is running one of the factory programs. I've got it set on the coin and jewelry program right now. I've actually modified this program a little bit, and here's one tip. Anytime you change something and you can't remember what the factory settings were, you can hit the menu and enter button at the same time. It'll say save as defaults or restore defaults. So now we've restored the coin and jewelry program back to the factory defaults. One of the major things to get a little bit more depth out of your machine is being able to change the ground filter. And in this coin and jewelry program, this option isn't on your live control bar. So one of the first things I like to do with a machine is hit the menu button twice. We're going to set up the live controls so that everything you need is right on there. We're going to enter the expert menu. We're going to scroll down to configure. Scroll down to live controls, hit enter. Go down to where it says extend and hit enter. Order, enter. Okay, when you scroll down here, these are all the different options that can be on your live control screen at the bottom. When you enter this, it puts the end at the very bottom. So right now, every single thing there is going to be on your live controls. And what I like to do is move the end upward, hit the enter button, and then just scroll it up to a decent spot right there. And then we're going to check and see if everything we need that's really crucial is on the live controls. And if we don't want it on there, we're going to just put it below the end. So we got program, we want that, frequency, sensitivity, discrimination, I'm not going to put on there, so I'm going to drag it down below the end. Search display, I'm going to take it out of there. Pinpoint display, I'm going to remove that. Analysis display, I'm going to remove it. Pinpoint audio, going to remove it. I may leave audio level just in case. TX boost I want to leave on there. Volume and backlight I want to leave on there. Let's see if there's anything else I want to put on there. Might go ahead and just put the bottle cap reject on there just for the heck of it. And that is it. Now let's pull the trigger till we get back. And you see now the live control bar at the bottom. We got our transmit frequency, sensitivity, ground tracking, ground filter, recovery, audio threshold, audio level tone, TX boost, target volume, backlight. You know, you can put whatever you want on there, but I think, you know, definitely having the ground filter added on to this is going to be a major contributor to getting more depth out of these stock programs. My first little tip is, after you manually balance in your machine and you start your hunting, go ahead and go to lock track. Because then if you feel like the ground's changing or you're getting false signals, you can just do a quick manual ground balance, by pulling the trigger and holding enter, and maintaining that balance. Because every time you set your detector on the ground and the coil's pointing, outward into the air, it may be tracking to the air and giving you an incorrect ground balance. Now here is probably the ultimate way to get more depth out of your machine. The ground filter is probably has the most profound effect on depth. You can see that the stock setting is a 10 Hertz bandpass frequency. As you go lower, your machine's actually going to get a little bit deeper, but you may have to reduce your sweep speed. If your ground's low mineralization, you may be able to go down to the 5 Hertz bandpass and still have a pretty decent sweep speed. If your ground has a higher mineral content, if you try to sweep quickly with this low filter, you're going to get some false signals. So you may want to slow it down. Bandpass really works best like around parks and stuff like that. High pass tends to pick up a little bit more electromagnetic interference. If you're way out in the woods, you could probably use the high pass filters, but most of the time in town and stuff, you're probably going to want to use the bandpass. I'm going to put it on the 7 Hertz bandpass. That's a good combination of a good sweep speed, and it's still reducing the filters on those signals, so you're gonna see a little bit deeper. But experiment with those filters and your sweep speed and see how that works. In my ground, I can run the 7.5 bandpass and sweep completely normally, like pretty quick sweep speed. And if I go to the 5 Hertz bandpass, I only have to slow down moderately. There's a few places I hunt that are really highly fertilized, and I can still use this 5 Hertz bandpass, but I have to just slow my sweep speed. So this ground filter, as you're moving the coil back and forth, this is going to really let more ground through. So if it's really mineralized, you could get false signals. So one way to combat that is just slow it down. And this is really nice if you are in a place where you need to work it slow and you want to punch down a little bit deeper. So this, the ground filter really has a significant impact on your overall depth. The recovery on this is set at 80. Recovery delay, the higher the numbers, it's kind of like the detector takes a little bit longer look at it. But you really want to, which can affect depth, but really very mildly. I usually set my recovery to match my sweep speed. If you want to be able to lay several coins on the ground and get them, 1, 2, 3, not, have a real long signal on the first one and miss the second one. So I usually run mine down to 50 for my sweep speed. 50 seems pretty good for what I'm doing. Just lay some coins on the ground, use your normal sweep speed, and adjust that accordingly. The audio threshold and stuff, this is all just personal preference stuff. Nothing to be concerned with right now as a new user. The transmit boost, that's a feature that you can run if you're in the right environment. If you're somewhere where electromagnetic interference is getting your sensitivities down less than you want them to be, you could try running the TX boost, because that really doesn't, that's an output. It's really not a being picked up by the receiving part of the machine, so it doesn't amplify any kind of electromagnetic interference. But if you're running TX boost and your machine's running pretty hot, you can get a bunch of false signals. So you're just going to have to try that one on your own. Now the next thing we want to talk about is our sensitivities. Your RX gain is important, but it's not the most crucial to gaining depth. Really, these over here, your all metal, that's going to be in coin and jewelry just mainly for your pinpoint, and your disc sensitivities. These are what's way more crucial to depth. You want to try and run this disc sensitivity up. But when you're in the field, if you start running this up to 85 and you start seeing all kinds of chatter on your screen, you want to creep it back down there. But I try to keep mine near 80 and up above that if possible, if conditions allow. And RX gain, really jumping this up doesn't do a whole lot for your depth, just marginally. So don't be afraid if you have to run that at a 6 or so, and you're still going to be detecting deep coins. But if you're in a place where you can run this up to 10 or 12 and it's not causing your machine to make any kind of noise or anything, then go for it. It's definitely not going to hurt you. And this is going to be your pinpoint sensitivity, which I turn up just a little bit. If you're looking for really deep targets like 8+ inches, that 55 can be a little bit higher pinpoint with. But really, these are the main tips. Disc is more crucial to your depth than the RX gain, and you kind of want to adjust those independently. Start off with your disc, get your machine stable with that first, and then go over here to your RX gain and increase it as much as you can. But you really are going to be a lot more successful if your machine is stable, and when you sweep the coil, you're getting, you're only getting true signals. It's not chattering off the ground. So that sensitivity in combination with the ground filters can really pump up your stock programs, and that's my tip for new users. The stock programs are really nice. You may want to experiment with them. Coin and jewelry has a little bit less discrimination than just coin, so I think that's a really good program to start off with. And the sound profile and stuff is not very confusing at all. And just experiment with your machine, try some different programs. The High Pro, that's a stock program, that's a very hot program on here with a low bandpass filter, high gain settings, and very little discrimination. So you can kind of work your way up to that, and you can kind of do the opposite, like I showed you. If that High Pro program is too hot and poppy, you can change your sensitivities, or if that ground filter is too low, you can bump it up to the 7.5 filter and maybe tame it down a little bit and try it. That's all I've got for you. If anybody else has any good suggestions for new users to the V3i, please post them down below. This channel is all about trying to help people out, and appreciate everybody watching, and I hope you enjoyed this quick tip. Thank you.